Here's a review for How to Train Your Dragon, the 2025 live-action reimagining of the 2010 DreamWorks animated film. I wasn't aware of this film's existence until the first trailer was revealed late last year in like October and November, and my reaction was, what the f***? Seriously? There's just something about 15 years after the original film that just feels a little too soon to do a remake, and it's even shorter when you consider that the third film came out just 6 years ago. And it's not that people don't love How to Train Your Dragon, it was a great animated trilogy. But it feels like this 2025's movie's existence was just to promote Epic Universe in Orlando. But I'll admit there was something magical and cool about having a live-action remake of this film and Lilo and Stitch in the same year. The two signature animated projects from directors Chris Sander and Dean DeBlois. Of course, How to Train Your Dragon is not Disney, it's DreamWorks, who makes their first entry into the live-action reimagining genre. Hey, if Disney can do the same movie twice, then why not DreamWorks? I saw the movie on Friday night in a packed IMAX auditorium. It was intended to be a rare 3D experience for me, but the weirdest thing happened while watching this movie. We, the audience, put on our 3D glasses when prompted, but the 3D evidently was not working during the movie, as either they gave us the wrong glasses or the projector broke. So we're 8 minutes into the movie, one of the AMC crew members came and explained the situation to us, gave us a free movie pass, and then started the movie again. This time in 2D though. In this film, a young puny misfit Viking forms an unlikely friendship with the most feared dragon in the land. Now there are two distinctively different directions these live action remakes can go. Last month, Lilo and Stitch went in the direction of having the core story idea and characters intact, but it's not like it's a complete shot-for-shot remake. Save for perhaps Stitch's great escape at the beginning, there's very few scenes, if any, that are just shot-for-shot or even dialogue-for-dialogue recreation of the first movie. 2025's How to Train Your Dragon is on the complete opposite side of that spectrum. The movie is a literal, no exaggeration, complete recreation of the 2010 film, and that's even more apparent if you know the first film well, or watched it the week before like I did. There's nothing of story significance changed and very minor additions. It's surprising, actually shocking, that this film ends up being about 30 minutes longer than the 2010 film, with as little that was added here. There was a nice scene of development added for Hiccup and Astrid. The most noteworthy additional scene though was pretty f***ing cringe, where the movie basically stopped to explain how diverse its cast was. This film was directed by Dean DeBlois, co-director of the original, along with Chris Sanders, both directors of Lilo and Stitch. And I guess that explains why this film is the way it is, because evidently he believed the original film was fairly perfect and kept things basically exactly as it was. But this was definitely an odd experience for me, because I did feel it was incredibly lazy just to redo the original movie. But oddly, when you do that, you have an experience and a feeling that's kind of identical to the first film. Just as many others believe, that first How to Train Your Dragon is amongst the gems from DreamWorks animation. Great story, a moving bond between unlikely friends, and it just felt majestic, leading to a standout non-Disney animated film and the start of a rather good trilogy. Essentially, every bit of emotion you feel or good sequence in this movie can be attributed to the 2010 film because it is a literal carbon copy. But there are some good things that the movie deserves credit for on its own. It looks fantastic in terms of effects, but they recreated the areas perfectly as if it was the animated film, just in ultra HD. A lot of the times with the Disney animated remakes, I find myself wishing that some of the iconic parts from the film would just look as they did in the original. So in that respect, this film was an A+. But I also appreciated the work from some of the cast. The guy playing Hiccup was good, and thankfully he didn't try to replicate the original voice actor Jay Baruchel's whiny type voice. The performance I, and many will be, weirded by was Nico Parker as Astrid. I prefer movies just stray away from any kind of race swaps. You save yourself a world of controversy, drama, and I don't think it's wrong for fans to want things to look like how they originally did, as that's how they became attached to them. But when the inevitable race swap happens, you just gotta judge the performance as it is. And Nico Parker was good in the role. Fierce when needed to be, but also kind and caring at times, the same development as the original film. But there wasn't anything about Astrid here to get mad about here unless you just really got a thing for blondes. But there appeared to be some kind of weird mandate with the casting for all the friends that none of them were allowed to be blonde. There was a really weird choice done with Rough Nut that just kind of threw off the character. But honestly, I was never the biggest fan of those young Viking characters from the original film or the sequels. They're all very one-note, repetitive, and more often than not, annoying. It was just a case of DreamWorks getting celebrity voices for shits and giggles. But the casting that was picture-perfect brilliant was having Gerard Butler back as Stoic the Vast. Butler voiced him in the animated films and now physically portrays him here. And he was awesome. He still had the powerful voice, but physically he just owned the role and how big and massive he looked, helped by fantastic costume design for him and all the other characters in the film. The movie in notable moments invoked that majestic spirit of How to Train Your Dragon, notably in the flying scenes. They just look great. And we have the combination of that epic flight scenery, the score, and the connection between Hiccup and Toothless, and it's hard not to feel something. And how could you just not love Toothless? He's extremely lovable for similar reasons and notable different reasons to his counterpart Stitch. He's just the perfect combination of fierce when needed to be, and of course cute. And it ends up being the kind of character that the kids and adults can equally get behind. When they inevitably get to remaking the third film, I can't wait to see that meme-worthy dance from part 3 in live action. So I felt pretty weird coming out of this film. Because the movie was completely replicating a great movie in the 2010 film, I oddly felt positive because I was getting a lot of that great experience again, and on a technical level, the film was quite impressive. But it just felt odd coming out and thinking about the movie more and more, that it literally was just a complete replica, save for some obvious technical differences, and nothing here was done different or added anything of note. Because of that, even though I weirdly had a good time, I gotta say I felt meh about the movie. I know there's a lot of well-earned skepticism when it comes to live-action remakes now, but I don't think anyone should ever root for an exact replica in your remake of an animated film. I think there's a fine balance between what 2025's Lilo and Stitch did and what this movie does. The new Lilo and Stitch did add some good new sequences and added a spin on some iconic parts. No spoilers here, but that notable part of Stitch in the water, that was a great new sequence that was not in the original film. Of course, I also do think the movie got a little too bold when it came to some character changes and removals, but I think there can be a good balance between being different enough and yet being a faithful remake. The concept of a sequel to this new How to Train Your Dragon being a shot-for-shot remake of the second film sounds boring as f***. Although to this new movie's credit, it did further my desire to check out the themed land Islands of Berk at Epic Universe, so in that respect the movie did its job, or I'm just that big a sucker. Probably a combination of both. So that'll do it for this review of How to Train Your Dragon. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you for watching.